The U.S. Department of Justice has filed an indictment in a federal court in Manhattan, which details the alleged plot claiming a $100,000 deal was sealed to kill Pannun. But the execution plot was disrupted by U.S. before it could be executed. Let's quickly take you through more details. This is an explainer which essentially tells you what is it that the United States believe India has done in this entire conspiracy it says it has hatched. All right, we'll just play out an explainer to put this in perspective. But remember, these are very serious allegations that have been leveled by the United States. For now, the United States has only put across what it holds against India in terms of an indictment report. But there is much more than what meets the eye. The Indian MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, has also, in fact, briefed the media and has spoken of how more needs to be put out in public domain before such allegations are leveled. Let's quickly take you through more details.
Right, Kritsween, let's take a look at what this document in the United States says. Remember, this is what the US believes was the plot to kill Gurpatwant Singh Pannun, and this is what it says here from the documents. It mentions an Indian official only mentioned as CC1. This is an Indian government employee, according to these documents, who is a senior field officer and has previously served in the CRPF in the country and has received training in battlecraft. This is what it mentions. It goes on to say in the document that this, Indian employee, Indian government's employee CC1 had contacted and recruited Nikhil Gupta. He's somebody who is living in the country, so the biggest charge is against Nikhil Gupta that he tried to execute this assassination plot while being in India. So he resides in India and he was hired with the intention of assassinating Pannun, and he was assured, and it says here that CC1 had told Nikhil Gupta that the Gujarat case will be taken care of and that nobody will bother him after that. It also goes on to say that he's involved in international narcotics, hinting that perhaps this is the case that CC1 has assured him of, that there will be no problem at all. Now, CC1 and Nikhil Gupta both contact somebody mentioned as CS in the documents. He was contacted as a criminal associate, assuming that he would help in the assassination plot. But the true identity of the CS was a US confidential source. So it was a source that the two had approached, and then these two approached another person identified only as UC in these documents, who was purportedly a hitman. But in reality, his true identity was, of course, that he was an undercover US law enforcement officer, and the two also sealed a deal of $100,000 with the plan to execute Pannun. But this, of course, was a US law enforcement officer who in turn revealed all of these details to the US agencies that went on to reveal the entire plot to the US Intel.
Okay, well, all of this as per the US report, all in the realm of allegations still. Many thanks for that, Pratibha. The document mentions the Indian government employee, like Pratibha just highlighted, CC1, directed plot to assassinate Pannun on US soil. The timeline mentions that on 18th of June, CC1 sent Gupta a clip of Nijjar soon after his murder. And it was on June 20th that CC1 told Gupta that killing Pannun is a priority. Now, while India has assured a high-level probe, Canada has waded in, with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying that India should take up the issue seriously.
The news coming out of the United States on India. From the month of August onwards, we have been working closely with our American counterparts, with partners around the world, on the very serious allegations that we shared in September that we believe India was involved, agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. The news coming out of the United States further underscores what we've been talking about from the very beginning, which is that India needs to take this seriously. The Indian government needs to work with us to ensure that we're getting to the bottom of this.
Well, the MEA has responded to the claims that have been made by the United States, says this is a matter of grave concerns. India, interestingly, has also said that this is contrary to the government's policy. Let's quickly listen in to the latest official response that's coming from the MEA.
As regards the legal case which you are basing, we have said that the individual filed in a US court. It is allegedly linking that person with an Indian official. That is a matter of concern. We have said, and as I said, that is not government policy, and there is high-level inquiry. And we've also talked about the, as you mentioned, nexus between organized crime, drug trafficking, gun running, and extremists, and that's something that needs to be investigated. I think this high-level committee is precisely constituted for that, looking at all aspects, and let's wait for its results, and we'll take it forward.
Rishabh, can you put this entire response from the ME in perspective for our viewers? Because, you know, while calling it a matter of grave concern and how India continues to look at all aspects very closely, India, remember, has reiterated time and again what Canada has held against India and the kind of allegations it has leveled. And this time around, with the US making these claims, it should not go the Canada way.
Well, see, these are two completely different matters. This is what Arnab Bagchi, the spokesperson of MEA, has very clearly stated. When it comes to Canada, Canada has given space to extremism and extremist powers constantly, and our diplomats there have faced the burn. This is what MEA has clearly stated. What did happen in Canada? In the Canada episode, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau goes on to make wild allegations against India in the parliament, which makes it an official statement by US that by Canada that Canada believe that India is involved India as a whole is involved in assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Who is Nijjar? Nijjar is a proclaimed terrorist here in India. For Canada, he may be something or another, but for India, it was a terrorist. India was very clear, give us the evidence, we'll look into it. It's been more than 2 months. There hasn't been any official handover of any documentation or, for that matter, evidence to India from Canada side. And India is very clear that whatever is happening in Canada is absurd. The allegations are absurd. When it comes to US found out something. They started giving those evidence to India. India is very clear that, okay, if this has happened, it is concerning and we will investigate into it. Okay. On 22nd...
The common thread, though, is how it all goes to Khalistani elements. Khalistani elements either in Canada or in the United States, in this particular case in the latest. Many thanks for that, Rishabh. We also have Mr. Suresh Kumar Goyal joining us on the phone line. Mr. Suresh Kumar Goyal, the MEA says, we're looking into all aspects. We're going to get to the bottom of this. But what do you make of the overall picture? Because the United States in its report has spoken of, details at length to talk about the linkages that have come to light in the findings that they've put out in public domain today.
There are just two things that I would like to say. First of all, I've seen the statement, and at least whatever evidence has been quoted in the media so far, and the case looks to be rather absurd and weak because of the nature that the battle training and was with the CRPF, etc., doesn't look likely that CC1 could have been involved or it was a government of India agent. Number one, whatever it was, I think the USA should have been more circumspect in sharing the information in the media on a case, particularly where India, a strategic partner, is involved, and where an Indian personnel, government of India personnel, has been accused of having conspired with somebody. So I think it was not really necessary for the information to be shared, number one. Number two, I am rather wary that both US and Canada should be prosecuting or should be really talking about such things.
And how do you respond to the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Mr. Goyal, who's also waded in, who says India must look into these claims very seriously because he's trying to score his own brownie point in trying to rig this entire issue and it's really got nothing to do with him?
I mean, we have said so often, give us the evidence, we will investigate. They are not sharing anything with us except making political statements. So the whole thing seems to be an attempt to put India down, and that is not at all really something that we expect either from Canada or from the USA.
Kumar Goyal for speaking to us on this very important issue.